All right, the time is 7 p.m. I call the January 21st, 2026 meeting of the Village of Suffern Planning Board to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening. First item on the agenda, 158, 160 Wayne Avenue multifamily project.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair. As you may recall, my name is Dan Richmond. I'm with the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz. And with me also on behalf of the project, you may recall Mike Calise, the project's engineering consultant, Pete Gato Jr. from the project's architect and planner. This project has been before you some time. Your board gave us a sort of informal thumbs up last time we proceeded, then made detailed engineering plans, which we submitted. We got an engineering memo from your board's consultant on Monday, which we'll obviously have to respond to in detail in the next submission. But we're happy to answer any questions your board may have. Pete, you want to speak?
And anybody have any questions?
On this project?
Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
As this might have been gone over, but it's only my second meeting. As a carpenter or firefighter, there will be firewalls between the connecting units?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
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 Will there be any egress from the basements aside from the stairs? It looks like utility windows to me, not egress windows, so there'll only be egress from the stairs, I guess?
Correct. Based on the size and the code parameters, that there's only one egress.
I can't hear you.
Based on the size and the use of the lower level, one egress is required.
And the only other thing I thought about was during storms like we're going to get on Sunday into Monday. In places like Bon Air, we have a big complex, and they have to get out of their lots so they can plow the lots, and there's plenty of street parking up there where they're all over the place. I don't know if any thought was given to that, but 202 has no shoulders on the road, and like the street across the street is like almost like a one-way alley or whatever, and I don't know if that even matters right now, but like I just thought about where would the people park to get the snow, to get the snow plowed out of there.
It's on the drawing. So it's a really good point, and so we took that into consideration in the site plan and distribution of the buildings and the landscape behind it. We also spoke to the fire chief about that exact thing. So the clearances but behind the building and around the end, and the end of the parking, this section is going to be the snowplow designated area. So we assume that ownership and management is going to plow it and push it on the back of the site, on the sides out of the way, to still maintain emergency access should it require, but also clear the lot so that the parking can remain on the site.
Yeah. My only thing was where would they park during? You know what I mean?
You got to talk into the mic or we can't hear you.
On the site plan, snow storage areas are depicted. We're also, you got to assume that the cars will be in the spaces for the snow events, so the main clearing will be the travel way. And then, as the space is clear, then they can clear any snow between the spaces. It's typical of a townhouse condo development.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Nothing.
All right.
So, well, Dan, where are you with respect to the neg deck? I mean, is that what you expect? Have you been talking with Bonnie on that?
The last communication I had with Bonnie was that she was all good except for she's waiting for DOT. We got comments from DOT this afternoon, which I provided to her, and I understand she provided to you, which indicate that they just need some more information to confirm that, the parameters of the work within the right-of-way. I spoke to Harry Baker, our traffic consultant, this afternoon. He said that information is easily addressed, and we will do that within our next submission, hopefully have that to your board. So hopefully your board at the next meeting can issue a negative declaration. I mean, the only other thing this evening, I would point out, the public hearing is still open. We renoticed it, so I don't know if there are any members from the public. We enjoy it.
Yep, clearly.
Okay. Did you send a copy of the DOT submission to the Village of Suffern?
Sorry?
Yes, I got it.
Oh, you get it? Okay.
You have
All
it.
right.
It's in the email.
Okay.
I mean, I can give you a paper copy if you need this evening.
No, as long as we have it, we're
Yeah, I
good.
provided it to Bonnie. We got
Okay.
it just this mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
Joanne on the email also?
I didn't, I
Can you forward
apologize.
it to her tomorrow? I
Yep.
got it, and Bonnie got it. I don't know if Joanne
I'll
got it.
forward it to Joanne tomorrow.
Yeah, we just got a bunch of stuff the end of the afternoon, so I just want to make sure we have everything.
Well,
Okay.
we'll make sure you have that. I'll
All
get
right,
that to Joanne.
thank you. Now, this is a continuation of the public meeting, so if there's anybody from the public wants to ask questions or speak about this, please go to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Jennifer Batson. I'm at 176 Wayne Avenue on 202. I'm not sure if any of you drive down 202 on a regular basis. I live there. It's a mess. Traffic is awful. When I say awful, I mean picking up kids from school buses, terrible. Cars are flying down the highway. Flying in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. Now, I'm guessing with this proposal, you all are going to do what you all are going to do, but you're not taking into consideration all the problems that are already existing. What are you guys doing about speeding, right? There is no traffic, like hardly ever a police officer around to catch speeders. We've had people run into our telephone pole. They've fallen asleep at the wheel. We've had deer hit, right? It's a very high deer place because Harriman is right behind us. There's a lot of activity there. And the bus comes down. We've had to fight to get our bus stop because they're trying to get kids to walk along the side of 202 to be picked up by the bus. All right, so that's just part of the problem. Another is flooding, right? We've had lots of issues with flooding in our properties, and we've worked together as neighbors to try to figure that out. But I know for a fact where this is proposed, flooding is a huge issue. Where is that water going to go? Do they have plans for all the water, right? Because it's got to go somewhere, and it's going to go, it can't go back up the mountain, so is it going back into the road and thus flood out the rest of 202? And then just all the parking. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have friends who live in townhouse communities. I do. Parking's always a problem. There's no place around there to park. Like, there's already houses that are being rented out where they have filled out, maxed out their driveways, and now parking is on the road, and that's already an issue in this area. Now, they have 2 allotted guest parking spots. How is that going to work? Does nobody get a friend to come over? And then where are those people going to park? Not to mention, I love the playground. I love the playground. Snake fencing. Snake fencing. Who's going to let their kid play with snake fencing at the end of the playground? Especially when there's a whole massive playground right across the street with a pool. Like, it makes no sense to me. I would not let my kid play there when there's snake fencing. And I know we do have rattlesnakes because I see them regularly, again, because I live there, right? So I know they exist, I know they're there. But I really think that this plan had no consideration for the neighbors and people who are already living on 202 and already have to deal with the traffic. There's no sidewalk on our side of the street. So there's no way, I have to dodge cars that are flying down the highway to walk my dogs in the morning. It's ridiculous. I almost took a video today just to see it at, like, not a, regular time when there's a ton of traffic, right? But, like, it's busy, and adding all of these extra places is just going to make it busier. And what are you guys going to do about it? That is my question, because it's really not tangible as it is, and adding additional housing. I agree that we need more housing, but I think this can be revamped. They could take down a couple of units, make more parking, probably do better irrigation, make a bigger playground if they're actually going to make one. Why do they need so many units in there when it's not a big lot? If you guys have driven by or even walked by that lot, it's not big. It could probably have one house there, right? And they're trying to cram all of these units in there. So those are my questions to everybody, and I appreciate your time. I've had a day, so thank you very much. If any of my neighbors would like to come up if I forgot something.
Sure. I mean, first of all, this project has been about 15 years in the making, I believe. What it is now versus the numerous proposals, it's in a moment. It's way down, and we require 100% water containment, runoff water containment.
Where?
Well, the resident has brought up some good points, and I know you've had to address traffic and stormwater as part of your plan. Why don't you address her comments?
Sure. Mike, I don't know if you first want to talk about the stormwater management pollution plan.
Why don't you talk into the mic, guys? I mean, sometimes you got to say it.
We've submitted a stormwater pollution prevention plan that's been reviewed by the municipal engineer. The stormwater pollution plan mitigates everything through the 100-year flood. The existing runoff that comes down the hill, we've also come up with a concept to take care of that and try and reduce that runoff as much as possible and convey it to the existing drainage system.
It's already overwhelmed.
Can you describe in high-level terms where the water goes in your plan?
Well, the water is being infiltrated. We're proposing infiltration for the proposed change in the amount of water that's going to be coming from our site.
You want to explain what infiltration?
Infiltration is going to go into the ground. We have a system that's going to take that water, store it, and then let it percolate into the ground. Before the last meeting, the testing was just performed for the infiltration testing to get us the percolation rates of the soil so that we could make sure that the system was adequately sized for the proposed design flow. It's a standard system. They're used all over. And then, like I say, the water that comes down the hill, we're going to convey it to the existing stormwater system in the in Wayne Avenue right away.
It's a mountain. I'm sorry.
Okay, excuse me. No. If you want to speak, please come up.
Wait, not yet.
Let him finish.
Everything.
Just let these guys finish, and then after they're done, if you have more questions, you can come on.
Everything we're doing is being reviewed and approved by the municipal engineers. So we will come up with the concept, they will review it, they will have their comments, and then we'll come to terms with what we need to do to provide adequate stormwater pollution prevention.
Yeah. And
Just the requirement that,
Yep.
again, just I think as Mike, it was implicit in what he said, but as I think you're all aware, and I want to make sure the public is aware, we're required to develop a SWIP, a stormwater pollution prevention plan, that assures that we're not going to increase, that the flow from the site during peak conditions will remain the same, that we're not going to add any runoff.
And you're not saying it's just going to soak into the dirt. There are systems that are a
There's
part of your
systems
proposal
that allow
that
for it
are
to-
designed to accommodate water. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, this is tested and,
Well,
Mike can speak to it.
They're all approved, the systems we propose are approved by the New York State DOT, the New York State DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. They're systems that are used widely throughout New York State. The water will percolate into the soil, all right? That's the ultimate goal. It's the least impact of additional flow on any adjacent or abutting property or county or state or town facility.
And just to the traffic, as your board is aware, we submitted a detailed traffic report from Harry Baker, which shows that the project's actually going to pose very minimal traffic impacts. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, or in response to a question from your council, we are responding to DOT comments that will allow us to work in the right-of-way, but they did not seem to have any significant major comments about this project's potential. And this project's also been reviewed for traffic by your board's consultant, traffic consultant, Osmond Barry.
And the playground, she mentioned the playground.
Well, I think that some of the issues like speeding, I think, go
That's an
to,
enforcement issue.
that's something that should go to the village
That's not
board if
something
they have
that we can
concern
do.
about that.
The playground, is there a big sign that says snake fencing there or something?
No, it's just a snake fence that was required along the area of a 30% slope. So that's along the area that will be undeveloped. So that's why the snake fence is being provided there.
I think that was a recommendation by the village, the planner.
That was a recommendation by the village planner, correct.
And a snake fence will prevent snakes from coming through.
To the playground. Seems like a good idea.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Trotz. I live at 168 Wayne Avenue, 4 houses down from where this is going to be built.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Deborah Trotz.
Deborah Trotz.
I've lived there for 47 years. I've seen the flooding that comes off of the mountain during many storms. And I've had flooding in my front yard, my neighbors have flooding in their front yards, and the property that this is going to be built on has a lake that develops when there's a storm. Where is that water going to go? And it's not going to percolate into the soil, and it's not going to be accommodated by the storm drains. What they're proposing is not good. Think about what happened at Squires Gate. A development was built, and then the village and the people who lived there had to deal with that. Is that going to happen when they build this here and all of the developers leave and the community and the village has to deal with the problems that are left behind? The parking, the flooding, all of the people living there, I want you to think about that before you approve this. Thank you.
Would you like to address this, please?
I mean, again, I think we spoke just a few minutes ago about the fact that we have prepared, as required, a stormwater pollution prevention plan pursuant to the requirements of the state that assures that this is not going to cause any increase in the peak flow off this project site. This SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution Plan, is being reviewed and detailed by your consultant to assure that it works. Got some minor comments from NPV, your consultant, that we are addressing, and we will get that in the next submission, but it doesn't, ultimately, I mean, I think as Mike explained, we did percolation tests, which, Mike can explain this better than me, which would show that the soils will accept the flow for the system that Mike has designed.
I mean, there has been flooding in the past. We all know that. So could you go into a little more detail on your system? Because I think if people are still hearing that you're saying it's just going to soak into the dirt, which they know is not true. So
you got to remember,
the
the system itself is designed for the proposed flow. The difference between the existing flow and the proposed flow, right? That difference is what we have to store, retain, or whatever, as per the New York State DEC. So the system will handle any changes in impervious area and cover. This is approximately a 1.75 acre site. So it's approximately 2 acres. It's zoning compliant. The systems are designed for the stormwater, for the pavement, for all the impervious covers that are being created by this development. The issue of the water coming down the hill, that's existing flow. We didn't create it. We're going to catch it and convey it to a point where hopefully we can slow it down and control it so it doesn't just run straight down this piece of property and flood, as the local residents have stated.
Maybe go into a little more detail about how the infiltration, so that it holds the water, gives sufficient time.
There's subsurface structures, right? You're building stuff
Well,
into the soil.
it's a pre-approved system. It's chambers. These chambers take and store the water temporarily till it can be infiltrated into the ground.
Right.
The infiltration testing was done to confirm our assumptions of the percolation rate. So we went there, we did deep pits. It's actually a testing company. We didn't do them ourselves. So we had another professional engineer that go there, perform these percolation tests, and give us certified results, sealed by a New York State licensed engineer, to what these percolation rates are for us to confirm and final design our system. That was done, I think, 2 weeks I would say the week between Christmas and New Year's. All right, so once we had that information, we prepared the SWIP. These chambers are typically like arches, all right? The arches are laid in rows of series so that they're designed so that they will hold the difference in the flow from the existing flow to the proposed flow. And then what it does, like I said, is it takes that and then it just slowly releases it per that percolation rate into the soil. It's very simple systems, and they've been around for a very long period of time. One thing you can almost equate it to is like a septic system. The flow comes in, the flow goes in, and then it infiltrates into the ground.
Can you, you have a drawing there. Can you show us where these systems are going to be positioned on that drawing?
You need the microphone so that we can...
The systems are located right through the center of the site. They're underneath the proposed roadway and parking lots. Then you have a swale that comes from the rear of the property to the front for this flow that comes down the steep hill that will be in an area that will be left to be undeveloped.
And can you give, I know these are products, you buy them. Can you give the name of a typical product? Because I know people like to look on the internet and see what
Sure,
things look
the
like.
typical product, of course, it's up to ultimately the owner, but
people make it.
as long as it has the equivalent capacities, but it's a Cultec, C-U-L-T-E-C systems. They're widely known, they've been around for a very long period of time.
Anybody else have any other questions, board members? Okay, we're not doing a back and forth. I mean,
But they never answered my question about parking.
all right, well, I'll answer the question. We require 1.5 spots per unit. That's the village code. We're making them provide 2.
So then when people have guests over and they go over into Chaddock and they go over to every place else, then who is going to be responsible for either regulating parking and who is going to be responsible for making sure that speed is actually taken care of on 202. I've had the DOT out there, and it's a real issue. And until somebody's going to get hit, is what it's going to come down to. And if that's what it takes, then that's really upsetting.
It's an enforcement issue, and I will definitely bring it up with the police chief and the village board.
Thank you, because I already have.
Okay, we both will. All right, this, we have a representative from Nelson Pope, if you would like to address any of these questions. Yeah, and yeah, this is the village's planner and engineer on the project.
Good evening. My name is Scott Lawher with Nelson Pope Voorhees on behalf of Ms. Franson. In regards to 156 Wayne Avenue, as the applicant mentioned, that they've received our engineering comments on the site plan, and then earlier today that they received the Department of Transportation comments. So they will need time to address those comments. So we do support, what our engineers have shared with their comments to then be addressed, and then with that information received to move forward for the next meeting, we're asking if the board would like us to draft a negative declaration to move forward into that project there. Thank you.
All right, so the public hearing is still open. There are more submissions that have to be sent in. A lot of things for us to consider. And it will be continued in February. But, we, as I said, this has been going on for 15 years, long before I was on this board. And we have gone back and forth, and the whole thing. And I would like you to look at the containment, because my understanding from day one is we want 100% containment of the water.
That's what we have right now, 100%
Okay.
containment for the increased flow for the proposed development to the 100-year flood.
Okay.
What's the date of the meeting, February?
The date of the meeting in February, I believe it's the 21st, isn't
The
it?
18th?
It's the 18th or the 21st. Hold on a moment.
Was it, Joanne, the third Wednesday?
Yeah, that would be the 18th. Okay. So, yeah, this is going to be held over to the 18th. Okay. If you got a question, ask it, but we can't do back and forth.
I just want to know what 100% containment means. What are they
Okay,
basing it on?
please.
The 100-year flood. We contain the difference between the existing flow that's there now, which is, say, bare soil, to our proposed impervious areas. We retain that difference, 100% of it within that stormwater detention system.
I mean, all right, you got to come up to the mic. This is not a back and forth.
Your name and address.
Hello, I'm Theodore Trotz. I live at 168 Wayne Avenue. Been there for 47 years. I don't think that people realize the water problem. Every house along that route has a French drain or some way to accommodate the water that comes into the basement. Water in the basement is a very, very common thing. Now you're putting all these units in. I hope you prepare the people that purchase these units, that their units are going to be flooded. It's like a tsunami that comes down off of that. The heavy rainstorm, I encourage all of you to come over and spend an hour or two and watch the water cascade down the driveway, filling up the lawns in the front. The lawns in the front. You all know this. The lawns in the front of those houses are always flooded out. There'll be 3 or 4 lawns that will be completely filled. I don't think it's going to be my problem, but the people moving in to these units are going to be flooded. There's no doubt about it. I don't know what to do about that, but at 47 years I lived there, okay? That's what happens every time there's a heavy rain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you look at the grading or the drainage plans, and you look on the area of the slope coming down, we propose something quite more significant than a French drain. That is that swale, because you have a good flow that comes down the hill. So we have addressed that flow. That's an existing flow. Like I say, it's coming from areas that we did not create.
Okay. Do I have a motion to continue the public hearing, February 18, 2026?
Make that motion.
Mr. Byrne, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Van Sickle, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. So we will be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, Suffern WA LLC, 37 Washington Avenue.
This goes with me too. This one's from Palisades Interstate.
I don't refuse medical attention.
Just a hard.
Call 119 if they don't come out in that. I was giving some of
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ready to proceed?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Robert Stout, Project Attorney. I'm here with Andrew Featherston, Project Engineer, as well as our clients. The board might remember the last time I was before the board.
Hey, you move the mic up a little bit?
Sure.
Thanks.
The board might remember the last time I was before this board. This summer, the board commenced the seeker process relative to this project. This project does require a zoning change from the village board as well to put this site into the transit-oriented development district. Following that, should that zoning change be granted, the applicant must come back to the planning board for a site plan review. Quite a bit of work has been done since the last time we appeared before the board on the environmental review of the process in connection with the board's advisors at Nelson Pope. That effort has culminated in a proposed conditioned negative declaration that places certain obligations on the applicant to take certain steps as part of the site plan review that will come back before the board. So I guess maybe at this point, I'll just open it up to any questions the board might have about the process and where we're at and what we'd like to know about it.
Anyone have any questions?
The last thing I saw on this, there was a series of comments from Nelson Pope, and I did not receive a response from you. It was things like, have you reached out to the railroad who owns the lot adjacent? So I haven't seen those. Apologies if I missed them, but I'd like to see those before we issue a negative declaration.
You did not miss those comments. They haven't been responded to as of yet. What we were going to do was get the negative declaration, go to the village to see if we could get the zoning, then come back and respond to all of those comments.
Isn't that out of order, though? Don't we need to see the responses to those comments before we issue a negative declaration? Some of them could be impactful.
No, that's not what Nelson Pope has expressed in preparing the proposed negative declaration themselves. I think anything they viewed, and I think a representative of the firm is here, has been addressed to the extent that there's other outreach that's part of a typical site plan review process that would happen during the site plan review as it normally would.
Right, just for the record, Nelson and Scott, if you want to come up, but they have prepared what's called a conditional negative declaration. So there are still some conditions that need to be met, but again, that's not an uncommon thing. But Scott, if you just want to explain Nelson Pope's position at this point.
Correct. So because what Bonnie outlined in her memo that was circulated today, this negative declaration would be conditioned with the applicant preparing detailed plans to avoid those impacts to adjoining properties, as well as including to explain in regards to the railroad topic there. So if there is a conditional negative declaration in place, the project can then move forward into the next steps of the process there.
But what if something comes up? Like, what if the railroad says, you can't build next to my property because I have X, X, and Y? That seems like a problem if we issue a negative declaration, but maybe not. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it could be addressed, in between there. So certainly, transparency needs to be made to have that further discussion with the railroad there. But with the conditional, it's really just meaning those conditions so that if things need to be addressed in place there, the project can still be able to be moved forward.
Right. And I know you were just using it as an example.
Yeah,
but
as an example.
The railroad can't say you can't build that.
Yeah, no, it's an example.
The railroad might say something like, well, the drainage could affect us, et cetera, but those issues have been addressed already. If it's a site plan issue, that it gets addressed as site plan. But again, it's a conditional neg deck, so it is conditioned on them still meeting some requirements.
And the board should understand that if something came up, another environmental impact that was not previously known about, seeker could be reopened at any time.
And the conditional negative declaration, you've listed conditions, you put them in bold text. What if there's something related to those questions that's not listed? How do we address that?
So again, it could be addressed, in the future if something can be come up. That additional conditions can be brought up to then be met for that process then be moved forward there.
And what is the benefit to the village of issuing a negative declaration before we fully understand your comments, essentially, the responses to them, or to the applicant? I really care about what the village's benefit is more than the applicant. Can you describe that?
Sure. So it's more of the fact of, with the project being where it is, the project can move forward in regards to moving closer into the development. So if there's things that can be flexible for those conditions to then be evolved into what is being met there. So it's more of making sure that the process isn't further delayed into the process there. Progress can be made as we get into the warmer months and such. For then, if things do need to be evolved, for things to be addressed in that way, that conditions could be updated there as well.
I'd like to add also that agencies don't want to review without seeker being addressed. That's why we need that neg deck. We want to go to DOT. The village wants us to go to DOT. They're not going to give us a response and a review. They already said that until we get through seeker. We can't go to the outside agencies. That's the biggest thing right now.
Okay.
And if something else came up, the board could always say, hold it, we're going to reopen seeker because we have a new concern or an impact that we don't believe was addressed. You could always reopen it. We're just trying to get to the agencies so that we can address those comments that you were mentioning.
And have all the agencies said they won't review it, or is it just DOT?
Procedurally, you address seeker, and then you go to the outside agencies. Everything I've done over a long period of time doing this.
And why can't you address the questions? I mean, they didn't seem exhaustive. What's the holdup on addressing the questions that were?
There is no holdup.
Okay.
On our side, we can't go to the agencies until we address seeker.
And some of the questions were related to agency review.
Yeah, go to the agencies and get their response, and we can't do that right now.
I got it.
And when the village board adopts the zoning change, if they do that, the zoning sets the lay of the land, if you will. Then the site plan has to be further refined in order to conform to that. Then we have to come back to this board. You still have all of your review authority and ability to condition any site plan approval that you might issue. If as part of that process, something new comes up or the board feels like one of those questions wasn't addressed, it can be addressed either in a condition of the site plan or, as Andrew suggested, as part of a reopening of the secret process, if that's a new issue.
And how is this negative deck going to impact the rezoning? Is that going to allow that to move forward, or is it the site plan review going to be conducted first before the zoning?
It would have to be the zoning change that moves forward yet, because technically it's not permitted by the zoning. Yeah. So this allows the village board to take that issue up. It's a legislative determination. Frankly, they can do what they want with the request. It's been pending with them for a while, but seeker is a necessary predicate for that to enable them to consider the request.
Right, Paul. Just to be clear, and excellent questions. The before it can go anywhere, and I know these gentlemen have said it, but no approvals can be given at all until this board issues a negative declaration, if this board feels it's appropriate. Bonnie has prepared a 10-page conditioned negative declaration. Most negative declarations are 2 pages or 3 pages. This is certainly, in terms of being concerned about issues, there's 10 pages worth of, conditions and analysis that's been done. Again, it doesn't mean you have to vote on it tonight, but when it's put over just for, well, answering a couple of extra questions, it's, that's not guidance. You know what I mean? You kind of need a way forward, if you will. Again, if there's something that's 100% missing or that you need before you feel comfortable voting for the neg deck, then you wouldn't entertain it. But again, it's not like this came up out of thin air. This is 10 pages worth of comments and analysis. That's ready. And again, if the board's not ready to vote on it tonight, you vote on it next time. But if you want more information, you would need to give the applicant specifics because, according to Bonnie and, her office, it's ready to go now if the board feels it's appropriate.
Is the sole purpose for this declaration for additional parking spaces? Or is it going to change the design? What is it? Why are you actually asking for this?
I don't know that I understand the question. Right now, the code, as you stated for the other application, code requires 1.5. We're providing 2 spaces on the site. I don't know that I understand.
I think, Hudson, they're applying for this project to be built. The first thing they need is the village board to agree to grant them a zone change. Before they can get a zone change, they have to start with an environmental review, which is this. So it's about the entire project. You grant this negative declaration, now that covers the entire project. Their next steps to go forward, again, as somebody mentioned over here, it's a legislative act, meaning the board does not have to grant this zone change. If the village board says, we are not granting this zone change, they couldn't even bring a lawsuit against the village board because it's a legislative act. You can't sue. It's just like any other law that gets passed. You can't sue or bring an Article 78 for a zone change. The board could say, no, we like the zone as it is and we're going to leave it. So to your question of why are they here, The village board says, we're going to entertain this zone change. As part of that, by the way, it will be back here for comment and review, as well as site plan, so it'll still come back. But before any of that starts, we are sending it to the planning board for the planning board to consider secret, and that's where it is now.
One of the agencies, I should have mentioned, one of the agencies that needs seeker to do the zone change is your village board. That's probably the most important one.
Yeah, I'm Moshe Botnick here from Extel on behalf of the applicant, Suffern WA LLC. I just want to stress, excuse me, can you hear me now?
No, you've got to talk louder. It's not
Okay, I will. Yeah, I just want to stress that, you know, this site is a site that's already been fully improved for many, many decades. It's not a pervious site, and frankly, we've been with this site now over 5 years, I believe, and frankly, we had assumed, given the circumstances, you know, it being a fully improved site, no obvious impact to the environment, that we would get past the neg deck stage very, very quickly. I compliment, Nelson Pope on their rigorous standards and the exhaustive environmental review we've gone through to get to this point. And out of an abundance of caution, we now have a proposed conditioned negative declaration with a whole bunch of conditions that we've accepted and we're happy to comply with going forward. But, you know, there really is no and never has been any obvious environmental impact to us nor to our consultants on this site. And as the village attorney mentioned, this is simply us getting past secret so we can actually come before the board to proposing the applying for a zoning change, which will obviously be at the board's discretion to approve or disapprove. And we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? The only thing I wanted to point out is several times you've mentioned parking on Suffern Place. And just so you know, there is no overnight parking there. So just for your own information, and obviously there are businesses there, but do we have a motion to approve the negative declaration?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Stanbridge, do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that, Mr. Halper? Oh, Mr. Byrne? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. See you soon. Thank you.
We'll work with your council on proper publication and notice of
Great.
this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Number 3, 14 Wayne Avenue, site plan application. Mr. Emanuel. They were here last time. They're in the back.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members. Ira Emanuel, attorney for the applicant. We were last here a little over a year ago in December of 2024, at which point this board granted us a special permit and a referral to the village board granted a negative declaration and referred us to the village board for consideration of a special permit. At the time that you granted the negative declaration and the referral, you had a site plan before you, and it was on that basis that we went to the village board. We spent a year with the village board. Actually, it took 6 months before we were able to get onto an agenda, but in the ensuing 6 months, we appeared at the village board a few times, got a number of comments from the planning consultants, Nelson Pope Voorhees. We were never able to have a conversation with anybody from Nelson Pope Voorhees. We were told that we were prohibited from doing so. And it got to the point where it became obvious to us that the site plan is going to need some additional work, and the place to do that, of course, is with this board. We received yesterday comments from Nelson Pope Voorhees, today, I believe it was. Today, comments from Nelson Pope Voorhees that responded to the materials that we submitted to you in preparation for tonight. Unfortunately, our engineer could not be here tonight, and so we really can't address the specific site plan comments. We're glad to see that a representative from Nelson Pope Voorhees is here this evening. One of the things that we would like to do after this evening and after we make the presentation is to be able to set up a meeting with where we could sit down with Nelson Pope Voorhees, with perhaps the village's engineer, our engineer, work through the plan, work through exactly what their comments are, because passing memos back and forth just doesn't do it. What I will tell you is that there is there is a fundamental misunderstanding with respect to one aspect of this by Nelson Pope Voorhees. They continually ask us to show the location of an easement between the two properties. It's very clear to me that they think that there is going to be some sort of driveway that's going to connect the two properties together, and that is absolutely not the case. And they don't seem to have an understanding that easements work in many different ways. What we have is we have two pieces of property, just to refresh your recollection. We have two pieces of property. We have 16 Wayne Avenue, which currently houses the Route 202 auto body shop, and then we have 14 Wayne Avenue next door, to which the principals of 202 Auto Body, in a different corporate style with a different entity, want to build another garage so that they can relieve some of the overcrowding that it has in the existing building. As I said, we went through this with your board. You granted a negative declaration. You clearly understood the project at that time. The easement that is needed is best explained by analogy, I think. Let us assume, and I'm going to pick on my friend Mr. Magrino there, okay? Let's assume that he and I live next door to one another, okay? And Rob, being the excellent attorney that he is, has a great big piece of property with a great big house, and I just have a more modest home. And I need to be able to park some cars, because although I have a modest home, I have a lot of kids, and they're driving. And I want to park my cars on Rob's driveway. He can allow me to do it, and one way that he could allow me to do it on a more or less permanent basis would be to grant me an easement to park my cars on his property. Now, the location of that would be spelled out. It would be, shown on the tarmac, but there would not be an actual connection of a driveway between our two properties. Pull out of our driveway into his driveway. That is the same sort of thing that we're talking about here. We have two different properties side by side under two different ownerships, and they're going to be parking on one another's property. There's not going to be a driveway internally connecting. And in fact, if we did that, that would raise a different issue that Nelson Pope has expressed concern with, and that is whether or not there's enough room for the cars that are on there. So if you put a driveway in there, okay, that's going to be 10 feet wide by however many feet long, you can't park your cars there. So what is it that we want tonight from you? Okay. All we want tonight is your authorization to Nelson Pope Voorhees and whatever other consultants to sit down and meet with us on an informal basis so that we can figure out what their exact issues are, try to come up with solutions, okay, and then come back to you so that you can take a look at it and provide further guidance to the village board. That's what we're here for tonight.
And thank you, Ira. And just so we're clear, this also requires a zone change, correct?
No.
I'm sorry.
Special permit.
This is a special permit.
Right.
A little bit different than the zone change, but
a lot different than a zone change.
I have the bigger house, remember?
Yes.
So
sorry. That's because you're a litigator.
So it is what I'll characterize as a little different than a zone change. But for all intents and purposes, just so you know, the village board, what Ira was referring to, Mr. Mann was referring to, is his feeling is if he meets certain criteria, the village board is really required to give a special permit. In other words, the village board by legislation has already determined that a use such as this is permitted in this zone, and but they have to go for a special permit to meet certain conditions. That's the process that we're in right now.
Correct.
Again, different than a zone change. So what has happened is that process starts at the village board then sends it around to the various other boards, and in this case, over the last few years, it's gone to the planning board, it's gone to the zoning board, and, so the last time they were at the village board, correct me if I'm wrong, there was still some trepidation, shall we say, and some information that the board wanted, and I understand the applicant asked for more time to come back to this board to maybe address some site plan issues, which is part of the which is part of the special permit process. So, I know I'm talking a lot, but this is really a village board matter that's here for, again, just like the other one, SECRA and those other items until the village board ultimately rules on the special permit. So, I just want the board to get a clearer picture of where we're
If I could just
proceeding.
interject real quick, okay? We agree, by the way, on everything. I agree with everything that Rob has just said. The only thing that I want to add is that we do still have to come back to this board for final site plan approval.
Who said you couldn't talk to the planner, and what was the reason given?
The planner, Bonnie, told me that she was not allowed to speak to me, that she could not speak to me on the telephone, that she could only respond to memo by memo.
I see.
And, this board knows that that doesn't work.
I'm sorry, could you speak into the mic? We're not.
I'm sorry. Member Stanbridge asked, who told me that Nelson Pope was not allowed to speak to me, and that was Bonnie Franson who told me.
If that's the case, you might want to mention to the board.
Does anybody have an objection to Mr. Emanuel speaking to Nelson Pope Voorhees?
Or Nelson Pope speaking to him.
Or Nelson Pope speaking with him?
I'll remind you, we're paying for it.
I do not.
Does Nelson Pope, they have a representative here, do you have any concern about having a one-on-one meeting with Mr. Emanuel?
All I mentioned with that is that I, revert back to what Ms. Franson said. So certainly, if further follow-up is needed, bring it back to Bonnie as well.
So
I'm not sure I heard an answer there, but he may not be in a position to answer.
So what would the next steps? I mean, first of all, does anybody have any objection on the board?
I don't. It's a good business. I've gone there myself. I'd like to encourage them to stay in the village. So I would encourage sort of communication.
So we've got to figure out the next steps to see if we can facilitate this.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have an objection. I think we should probably have Rob speak with Bonnie, and yeah, I mean, nobody has any objection. It seems a little. I'm not used to this sort of thing.
Me neither.
So let's have Mr. Magrino speak with Nelson Pope Voorhees and Bonnie, and see what we can. I'm kind of at a loss to, let's see if we can move this along.
Yeah.
That's, I think, probably the best I can give you.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you're at a loss. I am too. I have been doing this for 45 years. This is the first time I have ever encountered a situation where a village's or town's consultants has been told that they cannot speak to me directly. There have been times when they've wanted their own counsel there because and that's fine. I get that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we do something like that, or like a CDRC type meeting.
That's fine. That's fine. But as this board knows, okay, you cannot do planning. You cannot do site planning. You can't do any real land use work, okay, just by sending memos back and forth. It doesn't work. You've got to sit there. You've got to work on the map. You've got to draw on the thing. And you've got to figure out how things can work. And I know that this board, has expressed an interest in wanting this to work, and that is why we're back here.
Okay, so I think we sort of hold this over to next month and have Mr. Magrino speak with Mr. Emanuel and Bonnie Franson. Nobody has an objection. We have students from, Suffern High School. Do you have any objections? I mean, you can't just sit here. We're going to pick on you. Come on. All right. Anything you want to say? Any questions you want to ask? Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to adjourn this to the February 18, 2026 meeting? Mr. Stanbridge, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Byrne, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Was that February 18th, I'm sorry?
February 18th, I believe, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to come? You
Okay. Okay, and we have a few more, you guys have been here a long time. Nobody's going to rat you out, so grab an agenda, which are down here, and I'll sign your, would you have 4 hours here today?
You did it.
55.
Oh, geez, we're on video. Sorry. Yeah, come on up, I'll sign your papers.
That's the end.
Yeah, I'm signing on video, Bruce. Now, who are you here for? What teacher? Okay. You're welcome. Where am I signing?
Got a good one.
Just here?
We don't normally get yelled at by the residents. So if you're
Yeah,
lady
it was
yelling at us.
Yeah.
Picked a good meeting.
Yeah. You picked a good one, Tom.
Yeah, you did.
We've had a couple short ones, but not today.
What's the record, like 4 minutes?
7 minutes. I think.
7.
Was it 7? Yeah, you guys chose wrong, dude. All right, thank you.
You too.
I'll use that, thank you.
You took an agenda, right?
It's the.
Yeah, I don't even know how to use a pen.
You took an agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
You need to look at the agenda and make sure it's short next time, all right?
Yeah, it's posted. It's posted online.
And you only got to come to 5 more of these meetings and you're all set.
I think only 3 more. So I think.
There you go. Okay, all right. Thank you, good luck.
I get a sign off by my defense counselor. I don't know if this is true or not, but
You don't want to go to class
I
anymore?
require community service, and they said the councilman could sign off on it. I don't know how true that is. I would just need a signature. And
See, I can't even shake him down for $5 because Bruce is recording. All right, where am I signing? Right here?
Right here.
All right.
Just whatever it says. I didn't know I could do that.
I'm just going to put planning board.
All right, thank you.
Make sure they know that we picked on you and asked you questions. All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, okay. Moving along, item number 4, we have a local law amending Chapter 266 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, the zoning local law, adding a new section prohibiting short-term rentals in the Village of Suffern, recommendation to the village board. I'll turn this over to Mr. Magrino to explain it all.
So this local law regards short-term rentals. There's been issues elsewhere in the county that I've actually experienced with where people might rent out their homes or their pools or something, which is really not consistent with residential properties. This law, everybody's had a chance to review it. The village board has, prepared it, and they're sending it here for this planning board's comment. Again, it applies to private parties where, people charge admission for people to come to their house, and it creates a problem for the neighbors because, it's one thing if somebody has a, 4th of July party, a Memorial Day party or something, and it's quite another to, weekend after weekend to have these rented out parties. So it's basically to avoid or address, I should say, short-term rentals and, basically prohibit those types of activities in a residential neighborhood. So I don't know if anybody has any comments on the law. If everybody's okay with it, we could, I could prepare a memo to send to everybody, to send to the village board, indicating the board approves of this and supports it, or any comments you may have. So if you have any comments, now's the time.
Anybody have any comments, questions, anything?
So it seems like.
The question I've got is, where
I'll put in the mic.
I'm sorry. The only question I have is where in this document does it talk about the exchange of money?
Let me just.
If I missed it, I missed it.
Well, it's residential and rental, rental of properties. Let me just see. It should say.
It does say something in there.
Yeah, it says short-term rental of outdoor pools. So, I think it says a dwelling, etc. For a period of time less than 30 days. Rental for these purposes means an understanding, agreement, or contract, written or oral, granting or allowing, permitting use or occupancy in whole or in part, in exchange for monetary payment,
thank you.
Remuneration, compensation.
Perfect.
30 seconds, you never get back, sorry.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
It seems like this would prohibit Airbnbs or verbos. So this is an area that doesn't have a lot of hotels, but there's a lot of natural scenic beauty. So people who want to come here really aren't able to stay in the area. I understand the point about having a party every weekend, but have there been complaints or problems in Suffern proper or in the neighboring towns? I'm just a little concerned about inhibiting tourism. I want tourists. I want them here buying things in our shops and in our services. So this worries me, this local law.
I guess some people are concerned if the house next door was always a Verbo or I forget the other name you mentioned. Airbnb. In essence, instead of being a single-family home, it's now a hotel type place. So I think that's part of it. But again, they're asking for your comments. So if that's a comment, you can certainly email it to me, and I'll put it in the comments to the village board.
Yeah, I'll email it to you. I'm concerned that it will inhibit tourism and income for people in the community. I get your point, but I'm a big Airbnb user, and everyone I know is very respectful. So I'll put that in words, Rob. I'll email it to you.
Is there a way to allow like an Airbnb until it becomes a problem, and then the property will be prohibited from being used for that?
Well, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to.
Well, the enforcement would be if somebody had a complaint about somebody renting a house for the weekend, they were fined, then the following weekend somebody rented it and used it for a party. Then, once a complaint is filed, that property we would reserve the right to take a property from being able to be used in that, but not punish people who right now are renting Airbnbs successfully with no problems at all. Why should they have to suffer for that, where it can be a conditional situation, where if you have proven over time that you've been able to rent your property properly and to proper guests, you can still do that.
Yeah, that's something you can comment on.
I got it here somewhere.
Is it
I don't. Do you have
it's an enforcement issue, right? So if they're not following building codes or they're violating the noise levels allowable, it's a police matter. Okay, no, that's fine.
Right, and again, when you look at this, it looks like it would apply to the Airbnbs. And one of the separate sections is about rentals of pools and outdoor spaces. So those are kind of a little different.
Yeah,
but
that's a weird one.
That's a.
It's happening. The pools is happening.
I experienced
Yeah,
it in another jurisdiction. There was somebody who rented out a pool. So.
I don't have that. No, I don't think that's
so that's in there. I mean, maybe that could be a comment, but again, it's a legislative action by the village board. And if you have suggestions, certainly send them to me and we can put something together and see what the board thinks.
Yeah, I'll put it in writing.
And my comment is I think it's taking housing off the market as well and driving, especially older people out. That's one of my concerns because I sort of looked into this. And I'll send you my comment as well.
It takes, because they're not selling it, they're keeping it and renting it out as a profit-making.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't rent it to a family, and So anyway,
Interesting.
Are we voting on this or just sending comments?
You're to send comments. So what my suggestion is, I've heard what the board has to say, but I think I'd welcome if you want to send comments and send to everybody.
Yep.
And I'll put together like a brief memo to go to the village board, and then, that everybody can look at and give me an okay. Or
Okay. Great.
That's great. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. All right. Number 5, miscellaneous. I just want to bring up, we are all required to have 4 hours of continuing education. Is that what we call it, Joanne? To be on this board. By the way, they do carry over. When I first got on the board, I think I had 15 hours just to learn what was going on. But we just have to make sure that we're all getting them. There is an hour and a half session tomorrow online. And Joanne does send us emails to register. You listen, you always pick up nuggets. They send you the slides and whatnot, and then they send you the certificate. Yeah, there's Zoom. And actually, one of the really good ones I went on a few years ago was up in like the marsh up in Stony Point on a canoe trip. So, you don't have to do Zoom, you can do that. So I just want to make sure everybody's doing that. Joanne, you keep track of that, right?
Yeah, I'm going to send now because a lot of people have taken a lot of Zoom meetings recently, so I'm going to ask Anna and Carson to send me a new list now, who's taken what, who's not recertified, who's...
Okay, great.
Can we use professional engineering or architecture courses towards those continuing
I think
education
they're the
credits?
ones that the planning, Rockland County Planning recommend. I don't think it's...
Okay.
I think there could be a canoe trip in your future. Just saying. All right. Okay, number 6, do we have any old business to discuss? Any new business to discuss? All right, do we have a motion to schedule the February meeting for February 18th, 2026 at 7 p.m.?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Halper, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Byrne, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have a motion to close the meeting at 8:07 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Byrne, do we have a second? Second. Mr. Halper, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.